Act 1 Scene 2.
I swear, Nerissa, my little body is tired of this great big world. If your troubles were as great as your good fortune, then you would be tired of the world. But as I see it, it seems that those who live in excess are as unhappy as those who starve with nothing. One should be happy, then to find oneself somewhere in the middle. Having too much brings on gray hairs, while having enough to get by gives you a longer life. Well spoken. They'd be better if people followed them. If doing the right thing were as easy as knowing the right thing to do, people would be better off, little chapels would be big churches, and poor men's cottages would be princes' palaces. It is a good priest who can follow what he tells others to do. I could more easily teach 20 people what the right thing to do is than actually be one of those 20 and have to follow my own teaching. Your mind may exercise control over your passions, but a hot temper trumps cold reason. Young people are like mad rabbits, they hop over the fences of good advice. But this kind of reasoning is not going to help me choose a husband. Oh my, that I used the word choose. I can neither choose to marry the one I want nor refuse the ones I don't. The will of my dead father overpowers my own wishes. Isn't it unfortunate, Nerissa, that I can't pick which husband to choose or refuse? Your father was always virtuous, and holy men have good ideas when they are dying. He has set up a lottery where your suitors will have to choose between chests of gold, silver, and bronze, and whoever chooses the right one will win you as a wife. And I am sure whoever chooses correctly will be a man who will love you well. But what are your feelings toward the princely suitors who have already paid you visits? Please, name them one by one. As you name them, I will describe them and say how much affection I have for them. First, there is the Neapolitan prince. Yes, that one's a stallion indeed. He does nothing but talk about his horse, and thinks that it speaks well of him that he can put the horseshoes on it all by himself. I'm worried his mother had an affair with a blacksmith. Then there is the County Palatine. He does nothing but frown, as if he's saying, if you will not have me as your husband, choose someone else. He doesn't smile when he hears funny stories. I worry that when he grows old he'll turn into a weeping philosopher, since he's so full of impolite sadness as a young man. I'd rather be married to a skull with a bone in its mouth than to either of these men. God defend me from these two. Okay then. What do you have to say about the French Lord Monsieur Le Bon? God created him, so I guess he counts as a man. I know it is a sin to mock someone like this, but he deserves it. He has a horse better than the prince from Naples and frowns more than the Count Palatine. He imitates qualities of every other man, so that he seems to have no personality himself. If a bird sings, he starts dancing right away. He will show off his fencing moves against his own shadow. If I were to marry him, I'd have 20 husbands instead. I wouldn't mind if he despised me, because if he madly loves me I will never return his affection. What do you have to say about Falconbridge then, the young baron from England? You know that I say nothing to him, because he can't understand me, and I can't understand him. He knows neither Latin, French, nor Italian, and you could swear in a court of law that I have practically no English. He looks like a proper man, but who can talk with someone who can't talk back? And how strange his clothes are. I think he bought his jacket in Italy, his socks in France, his hat in Germany, and his behavior everywhere. What do you think of his neighbor to the north, the Scottish lord? He has a neighborly charity in him, for he borrowed a box of the ear of the Englishman and swore he would pay him again when he was able. I think the Frenchman became his surety and sealed under for another. How about the young German, the Duke of Saxony's nephew? I dislike him in the morning, when he's sober, and I really hate him in the afternoon, when he's drunk. At his best, he is not quite a man, and at his worst he is barely better than a beast. Even if worst comes to worst, I hope I won't have to marry him. If he chooses the right casket and you refuse to marry him, you'd be refusing to follow your father's will. Well then, for fear that might happen, please place a glass of wine on the wrong casket, because I know he will choose that one. I will do anything, Nerissa, to make sure I don't have to marry to a sponge. You don't have to worry about any of these lords, my lady. They have told me their intentions, and they are all planning on returning home and not bothering you anymore, unless they can win your favor by some other way than your father's plan with the caskets. If I live to be as old as the Cumi and Sybil, I'll still be as chaste as Diana unless I am married by my father's plan. I am glad this bunch of suitors have too much sense to play the game, because there is not one among them whose presence I actually enjoy. And I pray that God may grant them a smooth trip home. Do you remember, lady, from your father's time in Venice, a scholar and soldier who came here along with the Marquis of Montferrat? Yes, it was Bassanio, I think that was his name. That's right, madam. Of any man my foolish eyes have ever seen, he was the one most deserving of a beautiful lady. I remember him well, and I remember him being worthy of your praise. So, how are things? What news is there?
The 4 foreigners want to speak with you to say goodbye, madam. And ahead of them comes a 5th person, sent by the Prince of Morocco, who brings word that his master the prince will be here tonight.
If I could welcome the 5th person as happily as I will say goodbye to the first 4, then I would really be ecstatic to see him. If he is as good as a saint, but as dark as the devil, I'd rather he listen to my confession than make me his wife. Come with me, Nerissa. And you, go ahead of us. While we shut the gates on one suitor, another one comes knocking at the door.
If you enjoyed the video, please make sure to hit the like button and subscribe to our channel and press the bell icon.